All right, so most of you maybe have seen my jar video that I repurposed the jar and I made a lid for. So this was the first lid, but a piece fell off and now I have this kind of uneven blank. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I still think I can get a nice bowl out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bandsaw, I'm going to recut a circle, and I'm going to put this on the chuck and make a small little ash bowl. So let's do this. So what I'm going to do is, now the bark is here, right? So I can even take that off. So it gives this trapeze form, actually, which isn't the best, because if I hollow the bowl that way, I have this blank, and it's going to make the blank very uneven. And that's, uneven blanks are just not fun to turn. So this is the top. So I have so that goes to about there, right? But on this side, it doesn't matter, because if I'm holding here, I'm expanding here. What's really important is to get rid of this. That has to be a straight surface or a straight cylinder. So I already have my center hole established. So I can go all the way up to there and scribe in my new bowl, which is not the best, because it does take off a considerable amount of size. So let's just take in consideration that this bowl initially was 160 mil. I don't know how to calculate millimeters, so 6 1/4, I'd say, about. And now it's going to be 5. So it reduced in size a lot. So that's why another thing is, when you're tracing your blanks out, that's why I always do it with calipers. It gives you a perfect circle. And also when you're cutting, I don't cut on the line. Because if you cut on the line, you have problems. You could have problems. So let's just take an example. I'm going to take a Sharpie just so the camera picks it up a little bit better. So if this is my bowl, right? I want a 5-inch bowl. I want the maximum diameter bowl I can get. I don't want anything less than that. And I'm cutting. I usually cut about there. That's where the bandsaw is going to cut. And if there's a little unevenness, it's fine. The lathe will get rid of that. The problem is if that you cut on the line and suddenly you cut a circle like that, right? You're like, oh, that's fine. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It does, because now the new circle on the lathe is going to be that small. So let's just scribe in a new circle with that mistake cut. And that's just a small little mishap, right? So the new bowl, so this is a 5-inch bowl. So this went from being, I don't know why I keep using this one. This went from being 6 1/4 to 5, and now you made a mistake, and now that mistake puts you at 4 3/4. So as soon as you cut on the other side of that line, you really reduce the size of your bowls. And this is, on this size, it doesn't really matter. You might say, oh, 4 3/4, 5, doesn't matter. But when you have a huge bowl, so let's just take, for example, a blank like this, and you accidentally cut like that, right? You can really significantly reduce the size of your bowl. So you don't want to do anything like that. So really make sure that when you're cutting, you cut on the outside of the line, just to make sure mishaps like that don't happen. Anyway, so now I'm going to cut this on the bandsaw, and we're going to put this on the chuck, and we're going to get to turning. Just close that up. Boop. All right. That goes on the lathe. Chuck jaws are expanded. All right. Get this done. 5/8 bowl gouge. 1200 RPM. Perfect. That's round. I'm just worried that won't fit on the chuck. That foot maybe a little bit small. Nope, that's okay. It's a small foot, but it's a foot. That is just pretty. Alright, turn it around. Get my little cloth to make sure that I don't damage or dent the foot, which I shouldn't because that's small enough to be within the range of the chuck. Alright. Still the 5/8. actually going to start then. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. This is a 5x2 bowl, and it took me 12 minutes 30 seconds to make. So I'm still 2 minutes off by the Richard Raffin standard, which is the time it should take is diameter times height. So this should have taken 10 minutes. But I'm really happy. These bowls, these small bowls, are really fun to make. The only difficulty is that they're trickier to get right because you need to be able to have a very nice smooth interior curve and to have a very nice thickness. With bigger bowls, because they're so big, it's hard to get your fingers down to the bottom near the tenon because the bowl is so big. So even if it's a little bit off, it doesn't matter. The only way you would tell is if you cut it in half. But these ones you can fit your entire hand in. So you need to be able to, you can really feel, okay, that's really even or that's not even. So nice little project. I always enjoy making these bowls, and again, always enjoy turning ash. So as always, happy turning, and we'll see you guys next time.